Tommy Roe. Listen to Interview the Legends with Ray Shasho on BBS Radio TV.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Interviewing the Legends, brought to you by the Publicity Works Agency, devoted to promoting musicians and authors worldwide. Call us today at 941-877-1552 to start your free publicity evaluation. Remember, we shine only when we make you shine. Please welcome the host of Interviewing the Legends, music journalist, author, and entrepreneur, Ray Shasho.
Hello once again, everyone. I'm your host, Ray Shasho. Welcome to another edition of Interviewing the Legends on BBS Radio TV. Brought to you by the Rockstar Chronicles Series 1, my new book featuring over 45 intimate conversations with the greatest music legends the world will ever know. Available now at bookbaby.com and amazon.com, and featuring Mr. Tommy Roe. When recollecting those perpetual hit makers of the 60s, singer-songwriter Tommy Roe's accomplishments are among the elite of the music industry. Tommy Roe wrote and recorded 6 top 10 hits between 1962 and 69, more than any other solo American artist, including 11 top 40 hits, 4 certified gold singles, and 2 number 1 hits. Tommy Roe is a member of the Hit Parade Hall of Fame, the Georgia Music Hall of Fame, the Rockabilly Hall of Fame. Rock and roll pioneer Tommy Roe became an overnight top 40 radio sensation with his 1962 number 1 hit, Sheila, a tune in which Roe pays homage to Buddy Holly. Tommy Roe scored again the following year with his top 10 hit, Everybody, reaching number 3 in the U.S. 1963, Tommy Roe and Chris Montez, famous for songs like Let's Dance, Call Me the More I See You, toured with an up-and-coming rock and roll band called the Beatles. Roe initially tried to get the Beatles a recording contract, but was told by a record executive to stick to writing music and leave the record business to him. When the Beatles' popularity materialized, Tommy Roe was asked to perform at their first American concert at the Washington Coliseum in D.C. Because of an overseas wave of music to hit the U.S. called the British Invasion, Roe was forced to conceive a new sound. In 1966, Tommy Roe's number 8 top 40 bubblegum hit, Sweet Pea, swept the nation, followed by a British Invasion influence release, Hooray for Hazel, which reached number 6 on Billboard's Top 100. 1969, Tommy Roe struck gold twice with the prevailing Dizzy, reaching number 1, and the Freddie Weller, Paul Revere and the Raiders, Freddie Weller, co-written tune Jam Up and Jelly Tight, peaking at number 8 on the Billboard charts. Please welcome the music legend that gave us 23 top 100 hit singles, 6 Billboard top 200 albums, 4 gold singles with Sheila, Dizzy, Sweet Pea, and Jam Up and Jelly Tight, Tommy Roe, Interviewing the Legends. Hello, Tommy.
Well, what else can we talk about?
I don't know, man. You've done it all.
You covered it very well, Ray, very well. I tell you what, I was just sitting here reminiscing from 1962 all the way through the early 70s, and you covered it all.
Well, you know, I was a top 40 DJ, so you're very special to me.
Well, thank you. You're very special to your audience and to everybody.
Thank you very much. First, on a sad note, I want to say how sorry I am for the loss of your beloved wife.
Well, thank you so much, Ray. Thank you.
And her name was Josette, and she was a well-known actress from France.
Yes.
She was in many films, Rich Man, Poor Man to be exact, the TV show, The Other Side of Midnight. I remember Blind Ambition, Hollywood Night, and she will be very, very missed.
Yeah, she won a Golden Globe for Rich Man, Poor Man. she was quite a lady. I miss her very much. We were married for 44 years, so
wow. Congratulations.
That's half a lifetime, man, with one person, and she was just really a big part of my career and my life.
It's not only is she your wife, but she was your best friend, and that's the way I look at my wife. Yeah. And me and my wife and I were married now for 38 years.
Congratulations! That's great.
Yeah, my mom passed away a couple of years ago from Alzheimer's. So,
well, that's what my wife, her problem. She had Alzheimer's as well, and it's what a very cruel, agonizing disease. I mean, it's just. When you can't communicate with your loved one for the past 2 years, she just didn't know me or children or anybody, and it's just, it's heartbreaking to watch. It's just really devastating. So, hopefully they can come up with some kind of a treatment or cure for it, because it's just, I think it's worse than any cancer or anything else. I really do.
I think you're right. It's a horrible disease, and the only other disease that could come close, I think, was Lou Gehrig's disease, which is very, very painful.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
anyway, life goes on. We try to turn the page and make the best of what's left, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm still writing and making some records. It's pretty easy to make records these days if you have a little home studio. You can do it on the computer.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been doing, and of course, it's all part of my DNA. I started writing songs when I was 14, and I haven't stopped. It's something I do all the time, and most of them aren't hits, but that doesn't matter. It's just the idea of generating new ideas and putting them on paper and trying to record them.
Yeah, you wrote Sheila when you were 14, right?
I did. My dad taught me 3 chords on the guitar, and I used to write these little poems, and I wrote a poem for a little girl I used to chase around the playground, and her name was Frida. So originally it was called Sweet Little Frida. And that was the poem. And then when I learned to play the guitar, I wrote the song around Frida, and then I got a chance to audition for a record producer. I sang Frida for him. He says, "Man, I love that song Frida, but I'm not crazy about the title." So I don't know why he didn't like the name Frida. Maybe as an ex-girlfriend or something. It didn't work out.
It could be.
But we changed it to Sheila, and as we like to say, when there's nothing left to say, the rest is history. It was my first number one.
Did Frida feel the same way about you? Did she chase you around too?
Well, yes, she did. But what's interesting is I never had the chance to present the poem to her. Just one day she didn't show up for school, so obviously she moved out of the neighborhood, and she never knew about it. And I figured, I thought one of these days she's going to come to one of my concerts, right?
Right.
She's going to hear me talk about it on an interview somewhere. But I have yet to meet the girl again. It's just kind of a strange situation.
That is a strange situation. You would think, after all these years, she would. Recognize the song and say, "Hey, but you know what? It's Sheila. It's not Frida." So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Hopefully, she's still with us anyway. So.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I'm thinking maybe you worked with Ray Stevens on this tune, the new version of Dizzy.
Oh yeah. I tell you, I sent it to Ray after I wrote it. I thought, Ray, here's a perfect song for you, but I didn't give him time to consider it because I just went ahead and recorded it myself. It was my daughter's idea.
Really?
She called me one day and said, this COVID thing has got me dizzy, and I'm just thinking you need to rewrite the lyrics to that and put it out. And I laughed. At first, I didn't think much about it, So the next day I started thinking about it. I said, that's a great idea, and I got nothing else to do. We're all home now,
right?
During the first part of the COVID thing, so I sat down and rewrote the lyrics to it, and I had a track that I recorded in Nashville with Freddie, and I just put my vocal on the track with the new lyrics, and it turned out really well. And, I released it. It's all over it's on Spotify and iTunes. It's on all the streaming services. So it's called Dizzy Country Version, COVID-19 Country Version.
Right. It's so funny.
Yeah. And what's funny? It really works better now because they're going through this controversy about the mask.
Right.
So, when they first told us to wear the mask, it said it wouldn't work because the virus would go right through.
Yeah.
That's part of my lyrics, in the song.
Oh, man.
And then, of course, they changed their mind and scared everybody to death. So the lyrics work perfectly.
One of these news stations, I'm thinking it'd be perfect for like a Fox News or something, to play it on your show, Maybe a Huckabee. I should send that to Huckabee. He likes stuff like that.
Yeah, send it to him. I've been so busy with all the things I'm going through, I haven't had a chance to promote it like I should.
Yeah.
I got it on YouTube and I got it on the streaming services, and that's about all I've had a chance to do with it. But if you know Huckabee, send it to it. That'd be great.
Yeah, I just interviewed Mark Farner recently. He was just on Huckabee. We were just talking about Huckabee. He's on Huckabee a lot. They're good friends. And Huckabee, he's also a musician, so he'll appreciate you for sure.
Yeah, he's a bass player. Good bass player too.
Yes, he is. Yeah, I like the lyric, Jack Daniels, my new best friend.
I tell you, and it's funny. Once I got into it and I started thinking about it, the words just flowed right out. I mean, it just came so easy. I wrote that thing probably in 10 minutes.
Really? That was great.
It's funny how, you get inspired for something like that and how it'll happen very quickly sometimes, Sometimes the ones you struggle over for months never turn out to be very good.
Your friend is Ray Stevens. You need to let him hear that song, man.
Oh, I did.
Oh, did you?
He got it. I sent it to Buddy Cab, his assistant. Yeah.
Right. What did he say about it? Have you heard any feedback from him yet?
Oh yeah, he loved it. He loved it. I thought maybe he'd do it on his cabaret show, something like that. And he still might, I don't know if he's still taping that show or not, but they still may use it. They like it very much. Ray broke up when he heard it. He thought it was great. Oh,
it'd be perfect on your show. I could hear him re-recording that too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Doing a cover version. Let me tell you, man, I love your 2020 Vision EP.
Thank you.
I know it's only got 4 tracks on there, but every track is gold, Well,
thank you.
Really like it.
That was a fun thing for me because I teamed up with my old buddy who played the original guitar on Sheila, Wayne Moss.
Really?
He has that Cinderella Sounds in Nashville.
Yep.
And we had been talking for a while about doing some recording, and it just never got around to it. And then I started re-recording my hits. I re-recorded Sheila and I re-recorded Everybody. I call it Sheila Revisited and Everybody Revisited.
Right.
They're also on Spotify, there's streaming networks. But I did those at his studio, and when we finished recording those, he said, you ought to make you ought to cut some new songs and put out an album. I said, well, why don't we do one together? We'll call it Tommy Roe meets Barefoot Jerry. He said, hey, man, that's a great idea. So, we cut that, and we cut those songs for that particular EP, and then the Visions EP is a different one that we did at his studio as well.
Some of my favorites, and you got a couple of videos from that on YouTube, which I saw, like Sun in My Eyes. That's one of my favorites. Very country, Yeah. You get that kind of country crossover, kind of like David Gates from Bread, He does kind of the same thing, I think.
Well, I enjoy the country music. It's just I've been around so long. I remember real country music. George Jones and Merle Haggard to me is country music.
Right.
But country music today is kind of almost like rock and roll music used to be.
I agree.
It's transitioned into something totally different. But I like writing those kinds of songs. Looking for a Thrill is another one that kind of falls into that genre. And so anyway, I had those songs in my catalog, and I decided just to record them with Wayne up at his studio, and they turned out really well.
What gave you the idea for Looking for a Thrill? Those are interesting lyrics.
I don't know. I wrote that song back in the 70s. That's an old song of mine. And I just kind of dug it out of the drawer and recorded it. And I was probably writing because there were probably some songs in that genre during that time, during the 70s, and I was probably trying to cover that genre. But I really like that song as well, and it seems to really work today.
It does.
Probably better today than it did in the 70s.
It does, because, everybody is looking for a thrill today.
Yeah, And then I that last line, I remember when I was a kid, I used to do the soapbox derby races,
Right.
And so the last line of the song is looking for a thrill like on the soapbox derby hill. It reminded me of my childhood.
A beautiful track, a slow, beautiful track is Remember. Love that track.
Thank you, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome track. And of course, then you got Glitter and Gleam. Was that kind of dedicated to your wife?
No, Glitter and Gleam, I recorded for Monument Records.
Okay.
That's a re-record that's on the CD. That's a new version of it. But the original version was on Monument Records, and Felsen Jarvis produced that album for me, and he was planning to record Glitter and Gleam with Elvis on his next session before he passed away.
Really?
And that was all set to be on his set, and then he passed away. I missed the recording with Elvis because he didn't hold up, But
yeah,
it would have been the perfect song for Elvis. Felsen said he loved the song, and I could just hear him doing it. In my new version, I've tried to do it like I would think Elvis would have done it, kind of.
Yep.
Like an Elvis version, But I really like that song too. It's a fun song.
You know why I said about your wife, because the accordion sounds very French. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It sounds like a French music in the background, and
Yeah, I wrote that before I met Josette. Yeah.
Huh.
But the new song, after Josette passed away, I wrote a song for her, and it's called Ma Petite Josette.
Oh, really?
And it's a brand new song, and as soon as I get everything together, I'm going to record that.
Beautiful. So, what are you doing right now? What are you going to put together another EP or an album or what?
Well, right now I'm going through the post situation with Josette. It's
right.
like she passed away in December, and I'm in California now trying to organize our house here. I've got to get. I'm thinking about selling this house in California because I spend most of my time in Georgia anyway.
Right.
So I'm organizing this. I'm trying to get rid of some things and get her things situated. Josette has a closet full of clothes. I mean, she was a real stylish dresser, and she has so many great clothes, and I don't know what to do with them. And my daughter's coming down this week to help me sort all this out. So until I get all this sorted out, I can't really concentrate on making any music right now. So maybe the end of the year, or first of the 22, I can get back in the mood to do something, But right now, I'm just kind of bogged down with this.
Well, you almost thought about retiring too at one time, right?
Oh, I've retired several times, right?
It's the comeback tour from Tommy Roe.
It's just when things slow down, I retire.
I don't know how many times rock bands have done the final show and they come back 3 and 4. Like one band that comes to mind is Kiss. I don't know how many times they've retired.
I know. Cher's same thing.
Cher's the same way, yeah. You can't retire. What are you going to do? I know you're a great golfer. You play a lot of golf, right? But how much golf can you play?
I enjoy golf. I haven't played much recently, but that was really my outlet, my physical outlet. But I'll get back to that as well.
Who are the guys you hung out with playing golf? Did you play with Glenn Campbell?
Played with Glenn, Malibu Country Club.
Right.
I used to see him over there all the time. He kind of belonged to that club. And Andy Williams, I played in his tournament twice. When you remember, they used to have the Andy Williams tournament.
That's right.
Then I think it was La Costa. I can't remember exactly. It's down towards San Diego. And so I've played with a lot of different people in the business. Golf and show business seems to be an outlet. You can go on the road. When you go on the road, you can always find a golf course, kind of enjoy yourself while you're traveling around. But it's a great game. And, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but in 2018, I had quadruple bypass surgery.
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, so I've had my own health issues as well. And, it's funny how that happened. I went I flew into Atlanta, and I got off the plane, and I couldn't walk from the gate to the baggage claim without sitting down. I was so out of breath. Huh. And I had this terrible pain in my chest. So I get home, and I go to bed. It goes away. I figured, well, it's just a fluke, So I come back to L.A., and same thing happens to me when I land in L.A. I have this feeling in my chest that's not right. And so I call my cardiologist and tell her what's going on. And she said, well, come on in, we'll give you an angiogram. So I went in for the angiogram. That's where they put the camera in your vein, and it goes in and looks around in your heart and everything. Right. And you can watch it. I mean, they give you a sedative, but you're still awake, so you're watching it on the video. And I'm sitting there watching this little camera move around, and it gets close to my heart, and I see this black spot, and I say, what's that black spot there? She said, that's your problem.
That's your problem.
Because you have like 90% blockage in your main artery.
Oh, my God.
And I said, holy cow. I said, well, what do we do, a stent? She said, they can't do a stent because it was right at where it forks off into the separate arteries. So they couldn't do a stent. She said, we're going to have to do surgery, Tommy. And I'm laying on the table listening to this.
My God.
And I'm thinking, holy cow, man, all of a sudden my life's upside down. She wouldn't even let me go home. She said, this is so dangerous. I'm going to keep you in the hospital. We're going to get you in surgery as soon as we can.
Wow.
3 days later, I had surgery. And it was just happened so fast. I couldn't believe it. And everything went perfect. The doctor was brilliant. The people I had at UCLA Medical Center here in Los Angeles.
Right.
And everything went perfectly well. I never had any pain. I mean, it was amazing. I was figuring I was going to have pain and everything else. And I come out of the hospital, and I'm doing fantastic. In fact, I feel better than I did before I had the surgery. It's just incredible.
They do amazing things with the heart nowadays,
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. The technology is just phenomenal.
My wife just had a procedure done yesterday. She's got an internal bleed, and we don't know where it's coming from. So they gave her a pill that has a camera in it. So for the whole day, she was monitored, and this she had to drink a lot of water, walk around, and everything, and this the whole day that pill's traveling down to her intestines to see what's going on down there. So it's another. It reminds me of the Fantastic Voyage. Remember that movie?
Yeah. I mean, it's just incredible what they can do today. It really is. And I'll tell you, the doctors and the nurses, they're brilliant.
They are.
So good.
We owe a lot to them.
I was just amazed.
How long how long were you in the hospital?
I was in the hospital about a week. I think 5 days all together. And I never had any pain at all. I know they gave me pain pills as soon as I got out of surgery, but they took me off the pain pills about 2 days later.
Right.
And I still didn't have any pain. And I have never felt anything at all from the surgery. They cut the breastbone, so they tie that breastbone back together with wires or some kind of material, to hold the breastbone together. So occasionally I'll feel a little nick with a scar, where the scar is.
Sure, sure.
But that's nothing, it's just like a little tweak or something, it's not really nothing.
Yeah, I would have thought you would have some kind of pressure, on your chest or something where they cut, but you didn't have that, huh?
I have nothing.
That's incredible.
It just feels normal, except I can feel, like I say, the scar.
Right.
I know there's a scar there. I can feel that.
Right.
But it's no pain whatsoever. It's just, I can't stand pain. That's the thing I was really worried about. I was worried about being in really bad pain after the surgery, and I wasn't, thank God.
Well, thank God you're okay, Tommy. We need you, man.
Yeah, I'm hanging in there for an old guy. I tell you what, I've had so many of my friends pass away. Mac Davis passed away.
Yeah.
He had something with his heart as well. I don't know exactly what happened to him, but he passed away on the operating table while they were operating on him. And, I've had several of my musician friends pass away, and Ray Stevens and we were like we're the only ones left out of that Lowry group in Atlanta. Yeah. So we're holding the fort down.
Unbelievable. It really is. I just lost my train of thought. Anyway, I'll get back to what I was going to say anyway.
Okay.
I wanted to talk, this hasn't been recognized around the internet as much as it should. It was when you tried to get the Beatles to sign, and that was with ABC Records, right? That was Sam Clark?
Sam Clark, yeah.
And he just totally dismissed them and made fun of them and told them basically they were crap. But, I looked around the internet, besides me and you's conversation from last time, they don't mention it as much as they should.
Well, I'm always asked about that in interviews, and I talk about it with a lot of different interviews. But I don't know if you saw the movie Ray or not, Ray Charles.
I did see that, yeah.
Well, they have a scene in that movie where Sam Clark is trying to talk Ray Charles out of doing that album with a Hank Williams song.
Right,
so,
right.
I mean, Sam was not very up on what was happening, and Ray said, no, I really want to do those. I really want to do that album of Hank Williams songs. I think it would be a hit. And Sam Clark was saying, I don't know, Ray. You need to stick with the blues, man.
Right.
And Sam is the one, I put the Beatles record down on the I handed him the album. He put it on the turntable and dropped the needle and played a few bars in the first cut. I think it was I Want to Hold Your Hand.
That's amazing.
And, he listened to a few bars of it, picked up the Beatles, said, I tell you what, kid, let us be the talent scout. That's the worst piece of crap I've ever heard in my life.
I mean, this should be a major headline all around the internet. I mean,
oh boy. And, I developed a good relationship with the Beatles manager, Brian Epstein,
right,
while I was over there. In fact, he was negotiating with my manager to handle me in Europe, to manage me for the European tours and stuff. So and that's why he invited me to open for the Beatles in Washington after they did the Ed Sullivan show. That's how that all happened. He called my manager and said, would Tommy open the show for my boys?
Right.
Doing their first concert in Washington, D.C., and of course I was glad to do it. And so we had this relationship going, and we were trying to get more dates in Europe, and we were doing well in England, but we wanted to get dates like in Germany and Spain and France and all these other places. So Brian was working with us on that. And they were so naive; they had no clue what was about to happen to them with the Beatlemania and everything. They knew it happened in England, but they never dreamed it would happen in America.
Yeah.
And they didn't need an opening act. They didn't realize that. But they were ready after the Sullivan show. They were ready to do shows on their own.
Right. I'm originally from the D.C. area, and I was at the Coliseum. I used to go to the circus here. And what was that night like? I mean, that must have been. Yeah, I mean, you are history, man. Not only for your music and all your hits, but just being there for the first Beatles show in America. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, it was chaotic, just like it was in England.
Yeah.
I mean, they had already with the Ed Sullivan show, and they did that concert. I think it's 3 or 4 days after the Ed Sullivan show.
Right.
I mean, that was the launching pad, and. So the audience was absolutely went berserk when they went on stage. And our stage, it really wasn't a stage. If you're familiar with that arena the way it is,
yep.
we were set up our equipment on a boxing rink. It was like a boxing rink,
right,
where they had boxing, and so it bounced. It had a give to it. And I don't know if you watched that video when Ringo's playing drums in that video. You can see him bouncing up and down. I mean, I don't know how he managed to stay in tempo with the drums bouncing around like that. It was incredible. And even when I was on stage, I would jump around and it would be like on a trampoline almost. It was really crazy. And the audience were throwing jelly babies. They read somewhere that the Beatles loved jelly babies. Well, we didn't have jelly babies over here. They called them jelly babies in England. But we had jelly beans. I don't know if you remember that candy.
Yes. Yep.
Jelly beans. And they were throwing jelly beans. Well, jelly beans are hard. Jelly babies were soft. So you'd get hit with these darn jelly beans, man. It'd be like getting hit with a pebble.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It was amazing. And of course, after the show, I went up briefly and sat with them in their room, but they were whisked off right away to do some of it. They went to some kind of a thing for the ambassador of England. Where they were in such demand, it was just crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I got a friend that was at that show, and I know Al Gore was at that show, right?
Al was at the show. Yeah. He was. He sure was. He was a good friend of Felton Jarvis, my producer.
Right.
Felton told him what was going on. He had informed Al about the Beatles. Well, Al didn't know anything about the Beatles, but because I had toured with him, Felton informed him about what I'd said. I was like hyping them like crazy, trying to get somebody to sign them over here.
Yeah.
And that was what I was talking about earlier about Brian Epstein. The reason I brought him up was he gave me a little promo pack to see if I could get the Beatles signed to my label. They had no idea they could get a record deal, and they were trying in any way they could to get a deal. And so he gave me, actually it was just like a NIMS bag, a NIMS record store bag from his record store. It had the album in it, it had some singles and, a bio and a photo and stuff like that. And that's what I took to ABC Records, was that little bag of Beatle goodies that he gave me, And, what's amazing is I never got their autograph.
No, that happens, doesn't it?
You just don't think about those things in the moment, and I had all his little bag of Beatles stuff that they gave me. I never got them to sign it or anything, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, well, a picture's worth 1,000 words, and you got plenty of pictures of you and the Beatles.
Oh, yeah, and the memories, I've got great memories of that tour in England. I mean, the movie they did, Hard Day's Night, that was really based on our tour, because that's exactly how our tour was.
Really?
I mean, you'd finish the show and you'd try to exit the theater from the stage door, and there'd be mobs of people outside, and you couldn't get through them, and they'd chase you down the street. If you had to walk a while ways to get to the bus, they'd chase you and, just practically run you over into the wall, I mean, it was really crazy.
Well, Tommy, maybe they were waiting for you, not the Beatles.
Well, they chased me as well. If they couldn't find a Beatle, they chased whoever they could on the show, So,
that's right. You performed with them.
Yeah, it was all good. I mean, I had my fans there, too. So did Chris. We had our fans. I think they were like overruled by the noisy Beatles. What happened with the Beatles, they were just developing their fan base there, and their fans would follow them from venue to venue.
Yeah.
They'd get on a train or whatever.
Yeah.
Trains were very easy over there. Hop on a train and go to the next town. Well, the next town wouldn't be like 40 or 50 miles, and everything is close together over there. So their fans would follow them from theater to theater, and they'd have their fan club at each show, and they just create chaos wherever they went. So it was pretty amazing. It reminded me of the first time I saw Elvis. I saw Elvis in person when I was about 15, 16 years old in Atlanta.
That's amazing. Yeah.
He played at the Paramount Theater. And he had just signed with RCA. He was on Sun, and he had just, of course, I had all of his records from Sun. That's All Right, Mama, and all those early records that he made. And then he had this first record out, Heartbreak Hotel, on RCA.
Yep.
And he was promoting that coming through Atlanta, and he did a show at Paramount. And so I got a ticket. I think the ticket was only like $1 or something. It was unbelievable. Everything was so cheap back then.
Yeah.
And so I go to the show, and I'm like on the third row, right down front on the left side, on the left aisle, And I'm thinking, man, this is great. I'm going to see Elvis, and everything. I could see really good. I could see the stage. And the theater wasn't really full. It was maybe 3/4 full.
Really?
Full. And Scotty Moore and the boys come out and play a few tunes, and they get a little polite applause. And then they introduce Elvis. Well, when he walks on stage, the audience just leaves their seats and rushes the stage. And it's like you only heard him sing a few of the first bars of the first song, and I think he opened the show with That's All Right, Mama. And he only heard a few bars of that, and then it was over. I mean, it was just chaos,
Yeah.
Well, that's what happened with the Beatles. So, I mean, that was my selling point to Felton and everybody back in the States. I was telling everybody, like, it's like Elvis all over again, and they didn't believe me. You had to see them to believe it, they didn't believe me.
And the original rock and roll icon was Frank Sinatra. He started that.
That's right. Yeah.
The Bobby Soxers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the chaos. That magnetism, that stage magnetism, when you, the audience just can't control themselves, especially the girls,
Exactly.
It's the girls that create that excitement, and they get all excited. And, I don't know if we'll ever see that again with the media the way it is now.
Yeah.
Everything is so exposed. There's no mystery to anything, really.
Yeah.
There was a mystery to things back then. I mean, you would hear a record on the radio like Elvis or, Johnny Cash or Roy Orbison or something, but you never saw them. There was no video.
Yep.
So you had your own imagination about what they looked like and what they would be like performing and all this. And so when you finally saw them in person, it was like you solved the mystery, It was like, this is fantastic. I get to see what they're really like in person. But today, I mean, the artists are everywhere. They're on the media. They're on the, streaming the videos and everything else,
Yeah, you see them too much. You see them way too much. You get tired of it.
It's a different, it's a different world, right?
It is.
It's a totally different world in the record business. It's funny, I love talking to my granddaughter. She's on her way out here now. Mm-hmm. She just came back from Israel. She went to Israel with a group of kids because just on a biblical tour, to see Israel.
Oh, great.
All the religious sites.
Yeah.
And she fell in love with it. And she said, I got to figure out a way to spend more time here. So she applied to the University of Haifa, and they accepted her.
Oh, wow.
So she went there, and she spent 2 years in Israel in college at the University of Haifa. And she just finished her whatever she had to do for the 2 years, and she just came back to the States. And I love hanging out with her. She's such an adventurous young lady. She's traveled more places around the world than I have. She's only 26 years old.
You're kidding me.
She's incredibly adventurous. And she calls me the Justin Bieber of the 60s.
You know what? That may be true.
She said she was traveling with her friends in Israel, driving through the desert over there, and all of a sudden Disney came on the radio, and she said, "That's my grandfather." And they said, "What?"
How cool is that?
So she gets a kick out of that. I tell her about vinyl and all. She laughs at me when I talk about vinyl records. She says, the problem with that is you got to store all that crap.
Yeah, that's true.
She's happy to give her a backpack and a mobile phone. She's good to go.
Yeah, she can't carry vinyl in a backpack. It's not gonna work. You know who I talked to? You toured with the Beatles in the beginnings, and then I chatted with Don Daneman of The Circle, and The Circle they toured with the Beatles later until they stopped touring. Through like 1966, and their manager was actually Brian Epstein. He managed The Circle, so it's kind of cool. Yeah. I got you, and then The Circle, and you guys are the ones who toured with the Beatles all that time.
Yeah. Well, there were only a few acts that opened for the Beatles.
Yep.
When they got so hot, that nobody ever opened for them again. But Roy Orbison opened for them in England, and of course Chris Montez. And the Beatles opened for Roy Orbison.
Right.
That's what I mean. And they opened for the girl singer. Not Shirley Bassey, the other girl, British girl. They opened for her,
right?
And that's the only groups that they ever opened for. 3 groups.
Was that Celia Black? Celia Black, by any chance?
Cilla Black.
Sheila Black, right? She was very big in England.
No, it was Helen Shapiro.
Oh, Helen Shapiro. Okay. All right.
They opened for Helen Shapiro.
I got you.
And Roy Orbison, and then Chris and I, and that was it.
You were friends with Roy, right?
Pardon me?
You were friends with Roy, right? Roy Orbison?
Oh, yeah, I toured with Roy a lot in England, and even in the States we did shows together when he had the Candyman, Roy Orbison and the Candyman. That's when Bobby Goldsboro was his guitar player.
Yep. Yeah, I interviewed Bobby. He's still doing stuff.
Yeah, he's down in Florida. He's a fantastic painter.
He is. He's very good.
He sends me a Christmas card every year with one of his paintings, and they're really top notch. He's really talented.
Yeah, he's not too far from me. He's further up north.
Yeah.
Yeah, but But
he's a nice guy. I used to play golf with him, too. In fact, I got a photo, I think it's in my book, From Cabbagetown to Tinseltown. It's a photo of Bobby, Andy Williams, Glenn Campbell, and me on the golf course.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was heartbroken with Glenn died because I really like Glenn Campbell. And I love Andy Williams, too. I went to several of Andy Williams' shows, his Christmas shows, and they're incredible. You know?
Oh, yeah, he was an incredible singer.
Yeah.
They're also talented. You know, Glenn was such a talented guitarist,
Yep.
singer, and, you know, words. I mean, he just take a song and make it his own, you know. It was terrific.
Great guitar player, you know.
Oh, fabulous guitarist. He played on sessions before he became a star, you know.
That's right.
He played on a lot of the Beach Boys records. He played on a lot of hits out of L.A.
One story I never heard of before about John Lennon's brawl on the bus.
Oh, yeah.
What was that all about?
Well, we towards the end of the tour, or maybe halfway through the tour, they did a release party for their first album on the tour.
Right.
It was in Manchester.
Okay.
And they had it at this big house. It was almost like a castle. They had it. I don't know if it was a business place or a home or what, but it was a huge house, and they had maybe 300 people there. There's a lot of people, 200 or 300 people at the party, and a lot of booze, a lot of food, and, you know, music playing, the Beatles, they introducing the Beatles and the whole thing. And so Chris left the party early and went back to the bus, and then I did the same thing. I came after Chris. I came back to the bus, and Chris was asleep in the aisle seat, and I stepped over him and sat next to the window. And a few minutes later, John and the rest of the guys come on the bus, and John's loaded. He's got a Guinness in his hands, and as he walks by Chris, he pours the beer over Chris's head.
Really?
And Chris comes out of the seat swinging, man, and they start fighting in the middle of the aisle there. And nobody would break it up. And I said, man, let's break. You guys stop it. So I broke the fight up. And John never got over that. He got mad at me for breaking it up because he was getting the best of Chris that time, you know. And so John used to let me borrow his guitar on the bus to, you know, they would write songs. They were always writing songs, and I was writing. In fact, I wrote everybody on John Lennon's acoustic guitar on the bus on that trip.
Did not know that.
So he used to let me borrow his guitar to write songs. And so after the fight, after that incident on the bus, and I broke the fight up, he wouldn't let me use his guitar anymore. And I asked him one day, John, is it okay if I use the guitar? No, can't use it. Not anymore. That's it.
Yeah, I always heard he was a little bit of a wise guy, you know, from other people.
Oh, he was the wise guy, and he was my pub buddy. I used to hang out with him in the pubs. He's the one that taught me to drink Guinness. You know, I'd never had Guinness before in my life, and that was his drink. Yeah. So he introduced me to Guinness, and we would hang out in the pubs. He was a rowdy guy, you know. He was always talking loud, drawing a crowd.
Yeah. Tom Jones had a story he was talking about when he came out, and I think John called him a Welsh Welsh pup, and Tom Jones was ready to fight him like right away, but I think his manager kind of told him, that's just the way John is, don't be cool, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you know what's funny is after he would do something like that, he'd come to you and he'd be so gentle and act like nothing ever happened. You know, he was he's kind of an enigma.
Exactly. Yeah,
but so talented. I mean, what a songwriter. I mean, so talented, and he was really. I think in the beginning, he was really the one that made that all work. You know, he was like he really pulled everything together, and the band for rehearsals and all that. He was really the organizer of the whole thing.
I think you're right. About that. Yeah. I never got to see the Beatles, but I saw 3 of them, you know, on their show, and I saw Ringo like 3 or 4 times. I was invited as a guest to cover his shows and things like that. But John, you know, before he was assassinated, he was going to tour. You know, and he was the only guy I never saw in concert. Was John?
Yeah.
You know, what I admire about you too, when everybody was having a hard time, you know, all the top 40 guys, American guys, when the British invasion came. I don't know how you pulled this off, but hooray for Hazel. I told you this once before. I'm going to say it again. 100%, I thought it was by a British band.
Well, you know, I had to survive, Ray. I was, you know, after that concert in Washington, D.C., where I opened for the Beatles in February of 1964, in the spring of that year, I went into the Army boot camp. I joined the Army Reserve, so I had to go into boot camp. Mm-hmm. So I was in boot camp all of 64.
Wow.
So I was out of the business completely.
Huh.
And while I was in the service, that's when the British invasion really took hold. And I was watching all this, you know, while I'm in the service, and the British acts are pushing all the American acts off the charts. And the charts are just full of British acts, you know, Jerry and the Pacemakers, the Beatles, you know, Dave Clark's Five, you name it. They're filling up the charts, and all the American acts are left on the wayside. And I'm thinking, holy cow, when I get out of the service, I got to go in the studio and make a record, and how am I going to compete with these guys? I kind of did rockabilly before I went into service. I was considered a rockabilly artist, really. And so I'm thinking, I've got to come up with something really different to compete with these guys, and that's where I came up with the idea. I called it soft rock. I wrote Sweet Pea while I was in the service. Mm-hmm. I started writing, and I finished when I got out. But I started writing Sweet Pea, and I thought, I'm going to do something that's soft rock. It's like nothing they hear, and it's safe. Back then, the DJs were always looking for something to play on the radio that was safe, that wouldn't offend anybody, you know?
Right.
So I write Sweet Pea, I get out of the service, and I come to L.A. and recorded it in L.A., and it becomes a huge hit for me, you know? Boom, all of a sudden I have a hit. I'm in the mix with all these British guys, and I'm an American act in the charts with them, so I'm back in the charts, and I followed it up with "Hooray for Hazel," which I kind of mimicked the British sound with it.
You did, yeah.
And so I managed to survive through the '60s with all those British acts, and it was because I could write my own material. Mm-hmm. If I hadn't been able to write my own songs, I wouldn't have been able to survive either. You know, it's just I created, you know, the bubblegum sound. The song I called it soft rock. The DJs labeled it bubblegum music, but I really created my own genre, you know, so it really helped me to manage to have hits among all of that great music that was coming from England.
Yeah, I thought it might have been like a band like Manfred Mann or somebody like that. That's what it kind of mimicked, you know. And, yeah.
You know, Manfred Mann recorded Sweet Pea, instrumental version of Sweet Pea.
Oh, they did? I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Huh.
Yeah, but it's fantastic. It's an instrumental version. I think you can hear it it might be on the streaming services, I'm not sure. But it's really a good version of it.
Now, here's the thing that's been going on for a long time, and people are going. You know the song you did, "Sweet Pea," with the little girl, right? That you guys sang.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the video.
This goes on and on and on. There's people that swear that it's your daughter. Other people. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing that they just can't get over this video.
I know. It's created a lot of controversy. A lot of people thought that I was like a dirty old man
singing
to this young girl, you know. It had nothing to do with that. What happened was I was doing Sweet Pea, and the producer of the show said, you know, sing to somebody in the audience. So I go over, she's sitting right on the edge. I start singing to her, and she knows every word of the song. She's singing right along with me, you know, as I lip sync the song. And she does look like my daughter, actually. My daughter Cindy, who was out in California with me at the time. But her name is Darlene West, and she. She got in touch with me she wanted to know if she could get a copy of the video.
Really?
She wanted to show it to her children and her grandchildren to have it for them. And so I got in touch with Dick Clark offices here in L.A., and they got her a copy of it for her. I think it was for her birthday or for Christmas or something like that. They sent her a copy, and she has never forgotten. I mean, every year she just thanks me so much for getting her that video. And she's I don't know, she's probably in her 50s now. I don't know how old she is, maybe her 60s even. But she was, I think she was about 14 or 15 in that video, and I was in my 20s, you know. But it's a really a cute video. It's a lot of hits. I mean, a lot of people watch it.
Tommy, you've got to do another video with her now. You know the people would go nuts.
That would be like, I did a video with Miss Miller. You remember?
Yeah, Miss Miller. Yeah.
She recorded Sweet Pea as well.
Did she really?
And I did a video with her on Where the Action Is. I haven't seen that anywhere.
Oh, my gosh.
It's in the stratosphere somewhere. But, that stuff. And then the thing I did at Filmways, Tadpole Talbot with, what was the show? What was the name of that sitcom? Eddie Albert and Ava Gabor.
Oh, Green Acres.
Green Acres.
Yeah.
I did a shot in Green Acres, like a video shot.
Uh-huh.
And so it's out there on the internet as well. Tadpole Talbot.
Yeah, but imagine if you did that, you mimic exactly the same way. She's just following you with the words and mimicking you. How cool would that be? Everybody would love to see what she.
Cool. Yeah,
everybody would love to see what she looks like now.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. Tommy, here's your final question, and I always ask everybody this, get some interesting answers. I'm sure I've answered you've answered this before. If you had a Field of Dreams wish, like the movie, to perform or collaborate with anyone from the past or present, who would that be?
Oh, boy. I guess John Lennon.
John Lennon.
That would be fantastic.
If he's still talking to you.
Yeah, and we had such a good relationship in that tour. We got along very well, John and I, and even after that little incident on the bus where he wouldn't let me have the guitar, at the end it was all he was very apologetic, and it was all well and done. So, but that would be fantastic to be able to collaborate with John. It would be great.
Two incredible songwriters together. That would be cool. That would be awesome.
When I think about it, the bubblegum thing, really, the early Beatles records were really the blueprints for bubblegum music, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Their song, I Want to Hold Your Hand, and Please Please Me, Love Me Do.
Yeah.
I mean, lyrically, what's the difference in that and Oh Sweet Pea, Come On and Dance With Me?
Same thing. Exactly right.
Of course, they transitioned into something very progressive during their career, but really that's how they got on the charts in the beginning, was with that bubblegum sound.
So I consider you a rocker because you started way back, with Sheila was incredible. That's Eddie Cochran style and Buddy Holly and all that.
Yeah.
But do you like being called I've heard you as the father of bubblegum, the grandfather of bubblegum, the godfather of bubblegum. Do you like that phrase or?
Oh, well, I used to resent it because it was kind of a dig from the DJs, but through the years I've just embraced it and run with it. I loved rock and roll when I was a kid.
Yeah.
My favorites were Buddy Holly and Chuck Berry, all those early guys, And when I had my band, my early band, they were always rock and roll bands. We covered all the rock and roll songs, And after Sheila, everybody was very rock and roll, rockabilly, whatever you want to call it. And then, like I said earlier, I had to figure out a way to survive all that music. And they were really doing kind of rockabilly music from England, And so I didn't want to mimic their sound. I couldn't get away with that, so I had to come up with something that was different, and that's how I came up with the bubblegum thing. So it was helped me carry on through the 60s, and I embrace it and love it. I mean, when I sing Sweet Pea in person, I look out at the audience, and the audience has this big smile on their face.
Yeah.
And that song does something to people that makes them grin and smile big, So, there's nothing wrong with that, man.
It's an easy song to sing and remember the lyrics because, you can't remember a lot of lyrics. I don't. There's a lot of songs I can't remember the lyrics, but I can with Sweet Pea and I can with Dizzy,
Yeah. They're fun songs and they're easy listening and they're family oriented. And even, my last concert was in 2017. I did a show in Marietta, Georgia, which was kind of appropriate for my last concert, being an Atlanta-born entertainer. And I had all of my friends who I grew up with in high school came to the show. It was really quite a show, and it was. I didn't intend for it to be my last show, but after that show is when my wife got really sick.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't. I couldn't tour anymore. I couldn't do it.
Right.
So maybe I'll come back out. Once I get settled and my mind's clear and everything, and I'll go out and do some more dates. But we'll just have to take it one day at a time and see how it goes.
You did this LA Emergency COVID-19 Crisis Fund thing, right? That was all together now? You were part of that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did a medley of it was a show I did in Toronto where I put together we videoed that show, and I put together a medley of all the songs on that show.
I'm sure it's on YouTube now, because I did miss it. I didn't know it was out at the time. That it was that in 2020, I think? Yeah, April.
Yeah, it was last year. It was in the beginning of the COVID thing.
Right. But that had a list of people that were incredible. I mean, all the people in the show.
It was a pretty good telethon. They raised quite a bit of money for the first responders and nurses and the people that were working so hard to treat the people that got sick. It was a good telethon.
Well, Tommy, take care of yourself, man. Don't overdo it. I was going to ask you, was there anything that attributed to your heart attack that might have? I mean, were you a smoker or anything, or is there? No,
and the thing is, I was always a meat eater. I loved steaks. I mean, I would eat steaks 3 times a week. I was cheese. I love cheese. Pizzas. You have to not eat stuff like that because the cholesterol.
Right.
And that was my problem. My heart is good. My heart functions well. There's nothing wrong with my heart. I don't really have heart disease. It's just the cholesterol buildup, and I guess that's considered heart disease. But that was my problem, And I used to love sausage and bacon and eggs. I mean, that's how I ate, And now I've eaten more fish in the past few years than I've ever eaten all my life.
I know.
Fish and chicken and salad.
Right. Well, that's what my wife's telling me, because I eat just like you did. I'll eat pizza. I love steak. Same thing, And
well, if you're going to eat steak, eat the fillet.
Okay.
That's the least fat.
Yeah.
And you see, I used to love ribeye.
Me too.
It's full of marbling. I mean, the ribeye is the best tasting steak you can eat.
Sure.
And but it's full of fat.
Yep.
And I used to love Jimmy Dean sausage.
I love hot dogs too.
You name it.
Yeah, I know. I did gain some weight. I'm 62, and I've gained some weight, and it's hard to get rid of that weight. I was really thin in high school, but now I'm you gotta do like you said.
Just have to do everything in moderation. That's the secret.
It's hard, and I write, and I'm up late at night, and I sit down a lot. So
I know. Yeah, eat a pint of ice cream.
Yeah, I think I'll have one now.
Yeah, I could go through a pint in 5 minutes and be gone.
I know. I'm the same way. Tommy,
hey, Ray, it's great talking to you, my friend.
Me too, man. It's wonderful. I didn't send you a copy of the book, have I?
I don't think so.
Okay. Do you like it in ebook form, or do you want a regular book?
I'd like a regular book.
Okay, I'll go ahead and email. It was your PR person that contacted me. I forgot her name.
Debbie Cross.
Debbie, right? Debbie. I'll contact Debbie, get the address, and I'll send you a book.
Perfect. Sounds good, Ray.
All right, Tommy. Great talking to you again, man.
You too. You take care.
You too. Thank you very much.
Adios.
All right. Adios. Bye-bye now. First is Tommy Roe, Vision 2020 Vision. It's an EP. Tommy released a new 4-song EP, 2020 Vision. It's in the digital era of music. He says, I love making music. There's something special about getting in the studio and being surrounded by great musicians. It just brings the electricity of creativity. I just can't get away from that. Even after all these years, I get excited knowing that I will be making new music. The new EP is available on Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Google Play, Deezer, Tidal, and much, much more. For more information about Tommy Roe, you can visit www.tommyroe.com. Tommy's a proud member of the Georgia Music Hall of Fame, Rockabilly Hall of Fame, the Hit Parade Hall of Fame, and Iowa Rock and Roll Music Association Hall of Fame. Very, very special thanks to Debbie Cross of Spinning Plates Management. And, of course, the dynamic duo of Doug and Don Newsom of BBS Radio TV for making the magic happen for each and every broadcast of Interviewing the Legends. If you have comments or would like to be a sponsor for Interviewing the Legends, you can contact me at interviewingthelegends@gmail.com. And we're all about real news. And, of course, my new book is out entitled The Rockstar Chronicles, Series 1. Working on Series 2. It chronicles truths, confessions, and wisdom from the music legends that set us all free. You can order yours today on the Collector's Edition hardcover or ebook at bookbaby.com and amazon.com. It features over 45 intimate conversations with some of the greatest rock legends the world will ever know, including Mr. Tommy Roe. Book review by Literary Titan gave the book 5 stars. Thanks for listening. We appreciate anything you can for us. Join us every week on Tuesday from 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern Time on Interviewing the Legends with Ray Shasho, and we'll see you next time. God bless.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to Interviewing the Legends. Brought to you by the Publicity Works Agency. Call 941-877-1552 or visit us at publicityworksagency.com, specializing in author and music artist publicity plans. We shine when we make you shine. Tune in to Interviewing the Legends every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Time on BBS Radio, Station 1.